Hello, I'm Scott Stewart, and the wait is over. High school football season's here, y'all, and raise your hand if you're as excited as me. Might as well go ahead and put your hand down because nobody's as excited as I am about high school football. Welcome, one and all, to the 2025 first edition of Main Street Media TV's High School Football Preview Show. Before we get started, if you haven't looked at your local newspaper this week, go get it right now because we've got high school football preview sections in all of Main Street Media of Tennessee's newspapers all across Middle Tennessee, and that includes yours. This week and every week through the end of the regular season, we're going to work our way across Middle Tennessee and check in with sports editors and sports reporters and find out what's going on with the high schools in your communities and what they have as far as local coverage for your teams. If you're seeing this in Middle Tennessee, make sure you go to mainstreetmediatn.com to find the local newspapers serving your community. And while you're there, maybe sign up for a subscription so that you don't miss any of the local news, sports, and more that your local newspaper has for each of you this year. Well, there's really no reason to delay any longer. Let's get this preview started by heading on over to David Wilson in East Middle Tennessee.
Hey everybody, this is David Wilson, East Regional Sports Editor for Main Street Preps. Welcome into another high school football season here in the Mid-State. I'll be joining you this year from Wilson County, moving over from Robertson County into my new spot. So a lot of great football out on the east side of the Nashville area. We'll kick things off this week in the MyTV 30 Friday Night Rivals Game of the Week on a Thursday edition. It's the Beach Bucks traveling to the Hill to face the Green Hill Hawks in what should be a great matchup to kick off the TLS high school football season here in the Mid-State. Two teams that are kind of coming off disappointing finishes to their season last year. Both teams won their regular season region championships. Beach up in Class 5A and Green Hill in Class 6A. Both those teams hit disappointing losses, though, in the postseason. Green Hill lost in the first round to Blackman, and then Beach lost to Springfield in the quarterfinals, ending their bid for a potential semifinal matchup with Page. Should be a great matchup on Thursday night. Obviously, Beach is a talented program led by Anthony Crabtree. They have Caden Powell and Sawyer Phillips at the quarterback position that could feature a rotation. They also have two Division I commits on their offensive side of the football, with Jack Fuchs going to Penn State on the offensive line spot, and then Shelton Swafford, the East Tennessee State commit, at the running back position. Green Hill will counter with three Division I commits of their own. Quarterback Cannon Burrows going to UT Martin, linebacker Omiza Daniel going to Army, and then offensive and defensive lineman Ethan Harris going to Davidson. Should be a great matchup between those two programs to kick it off on the Hill on Thursday night. Moving forward on Friday, Blake Waldorf, the former Watertown quarterback who transferred to Friendship Christian, will make his debut alongside four-time state champion coach John McNeil this Friday as the Commanders host Trousdale County. Friendship Christian, a really talented team that returns a bunch of playmakers on the offensive and defensive side of the football. On the offensive side alone, you have four-star prospect Caden Buchanan on the offensive line, D. Boone at wide receiver, Brady Stringer at wide receiver as well, and running back Jaden McGowan. Should be a nice program that could contend with Nashville Christian in Division II Single A. Moving on, Lebanon, who's going to have a first-year starting quarterback and senior Austin Harrison. They make the trip to Williamson County to take on Nolensville, who has a new coach of their own. Scott Sidham making his coaching debut down there for Nolensville with an entire new offensive staff. So it'll be new faces, in new places down in Williamson County on Friday night between Lebanon, who's led by head coach Chuck Gentry, as the Blue Devils take on the Knights down there. Moving on, a good matchup to keep an eye on in Wilson County this weekend. It's quarterback Andre Adams of Antioch, three-star prospect who's got multiple Division I looks, facing Mount Juliet in the Bear Den and Coach Trey Perry. Mount Juliet graduated a whole bunch of seniors from their roster last year, and they're going to flirt with at least 2 to 3 quarterbacks in a rotation on Friday night. So that's a good matchup to keep an eye on in Wilson County when Mount Juliet hosts Antioch this Friday night. Arcente Broom for Antioch does a great job with Metro Nashville schools. Moving on, Mount Juliet Christian Academy, head coach Dan Davis. They're going to make the trip up to Robertson County, my former neck of the woods, as they face Joe Burns here in Week 1. Joe Burns is going to have a quarterback change with Luke Miller, their former quarterback, having finger surgery this offseason. They're going to move Clay Woody from the wide receiver spot to the quarterback spot. So it'll be a challenge for Mount Juliet Christian, who floats a roster with about 20 or so players up there with the elements up in Cedar Hill. Should be a good one right there. I mentioned Watertown. They lose quarterback Blake Waldorf. Well, they have Garrett Davis, taking over the signal caller duties for head coach Gavin Webster. They host Smith County, who's coming off a 2-8 season last year. So Watertown had an opportunity to get their season off to a good start in Wilson County this Friday night. In the final matchup, it's Cane Ridge making the trip over to Wilson Central to face Ben Coons, Wildcats. Chaz Martin is a guy to keep an eye on, and J.R. Arnold as well. As Wilson Central has gone old school traditional, they're going to run that football and try to ground and pound against the Ravens this weekend in Wilson County. That's a preview of this week's matchups. Looking forward to talking to you guys on the roundup next week.
Thanks, David. It sounds like a lot of great action over there for you guys. Now let's move over to North Central Middle Tennessee to see what Blaine Kellar has to say.
Back to the 2025 Tennessee high school football season. And what better way to do that than by providing you the most comprehensive mid-state high school sports coverage that you're going to find with our four prints in Sumner and Davidson County, as well as MainStreetPreps.com. Be sure to check out the Portland Sun, the Gallatin News, the Hendersonville Standard, or Main Street Nashville for any and all coverage of these games I'm about to list, as well as MainStreetPreps.com will have coverage of all the games talked about on today's show. Now, with all that out of the way, let me give you games to get ready for in Sumner County and what we'll have coverage of in Davidson and Williamson County. Starting in Sumner, it's the first game in the Mid-State for the 2025 high school football season. The Beach Buccaneers traveling to Green Hill Thursday night. The Buccaneers have a lot to prove, and Green Hill will provide a good first test to do that. Friday's slate is highlighted by the Gallatin Green Wave hosting Hendersonville. It's one of two rivalries on Friday nights. Both are pretty big ones in the area, the other being Portland against White House and new head coach Atlee Pond. Pond is one of three new head coaches making his debut in Sumner County on Friday night. The others, JP2 and new head coach Rock Batten, a mid-state football veteran. They traveled to Lakeway Christian to take on a team that's headed up by another Georgia high school football transplant in Coach Vandegrift, who's won a couple of state championships in that state recently. So a couple of first-year head coaches going up against each other in Lakeway Christian. The other Sumner County debut, Ryan Harris and Westmoreland, fresh off a 10-win season. They're traveling to Greenwood, Kentucky, that's in Bowling Green, to take on the Gators. They're not the only ones going up there. Station Camp, the Bison, are also traveling to Bowling Green, also traveling to Greenwood, but they'll be taking on Allen County, Scottsville, in a rare football doubleheader. It's an interesting one to watch for. One of many interesting games in Sumner County. Our schedule rounds out with Liberty Creek taking on a star-studded East Robertson team. That's your Sumner schedule. Here are the Davidson and Williamson games that we'll have coverage of. Lots of state champions involved in this slate. Lipscomb Academy hosts defending champion McCallie at home on Friday night. CPA, another reigning champ, they start a brutal season schedule by traveling to Oakland, taking on the powerhouse Patriots out of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. Finally, the third game that we plan to have coverage of, Davidson Academy going up against Nashville Christian, Georgia quarterback commitment Jared Curtis, and the state champion Eagles in D2 single A. So all three Division II champions will be covered on our behalf Friday night. That's Nashville Christian, that's CPA, even though now they're in D2 AAA, and McCallie. So lots of great coverage coming on our part from Sumner County, from Williamson County, from Davidson County. We're going to have you covered all season long. That's a breakdown of the games to come from the North Central region of our Main Street Preps coverage umbrella. we'll kick it back to you guys.
Thanks, Blaine. Look, there are a lot of games coming up across Main Street Media's communities, and we'll pick those up again in just a minute on the other side of this break.
He shoots, and he scores!
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
Welcome back. We're ready now to check out my neck of the woods, Southern Middle Tennessee, with Maurice Patton.
Thanks, Scott. A lot of great matchups to get the season started down here in Southern Middle Tennessee. Week 1 across Giles, Lawrence, Murray, and South Williamson counties. Let's start in Lawrence County over at Hendrick Stagg Stadium in Lawrenceburg. It'll be the host Wildcats, 4-6 a year ago, making their debut under first-year coach Garrett Barnett. Lawrence County graduate Garrett Barnett, taking on visiting Summertown. The Eagles coming off of an 8-3 finish a year ago, also coming off of a 14-0 win over the Wildcats in the season opener back in 2024. So the hosts got a little bit of a score to settle in this one and looking for bragging rights as well as some getbacks. So again, big game when Summertown goes to Lawrence County on Friday night. Also on Friday night, the Loretto Mustangs will be breaking in their new coach, Loretto graduate Bryce Glass, as the Mustangs take on visiting Cornersville. Loretto 6-5 last year. Cornersville coming off of a 2-8 finish in 2024. In Giles County, well, not really in Giles County, but Richland, the Raiders going on the road to open up their season. 9-4 a year ago with an advance to the Class 1A state quarterfinals are the Raiders. They hit the road traveling to Wayne County. The Wildcats 6-5 last year. Always a big matchup when these two get together, longtime region rivals. It's a non-region game this time around, but no less important for both these squads. Richland in particular wanting to get off on a good foot and try to surpass last year's 9-4 finish. So big road game for the Raiders. At the Brickyard, Giles County 6-6 last year, taking on 4-time Class 5A state runner-up Page. The Patriots 14-1 last year. Again, Giles County finished up 6-6, looking to step their game up here in 2025. Independence under a new coach, but it's an old coach. The Scott Blade 2.0 era gets going for the Eagles. 3-8 last year. They travel to Rockvale. The Rockets 2-8 a year ago, but they also have a new coach, James Counts Jr., who came down from Henry County. So interesting matchup here between two teams. Obviously looking to improve on their 2024 performances, obviously looking to get things started in the right way under new coaches. Old coach, Brian Coleman, 12th year coach Brian Coleman, starting his 12th season as the Summit Spartans go to Spring Hill in the Battle of the Hill. Again, the Spartans 3-7 a year ago, Spring Hill 2-8. The Raiders also making a debut under new coach Josh Taylor, former defensive coordinator at Spring Hill. So if you notice, the theme is new coaches making debuts in and around Columbia this year. Not just a new coach, but a new team. Battle Creek will make its varsity debut Friday night. The Grizzlies hit the field at home against visiting Mount Pleasant. The Tigers coming off of a 6-4 finish. Again, Battle Creek playing its first varsity game. They will be at home Friday night against the Tigers. Dixon County travels to Lindsey Nelson Stadium, the new turfed Lindsey Nelson Stadium, taking on the Columbia Central Lions. Dixon County 5-6 last year, Columbia Central 6-5. So, if last year's any indication, two fairly evenly matched teams. We'll see how that one comes out. Division 2A state finalist Columbia Academy in 2024 finished up 10-4, stepping up to D2 AA, getting their season started against Fayetteville. The Tigers coming in off of a 3-8 finish last year. So again, CA state runners-up in Division 2A last year, stepping up to D2 AA, opening against Fayetteville at home. Finally, Zion Christian, after 4 years of play in the TSI AA 8-man football, the Eagles are back in the TSSAA. They are playing 11-man football, and they are going to Lewis County. The Panthers 6-5 last year. Big matchup for Zion Christian as they go on the road here in week 1 to get things started. That's what we got down here in southern Middle Tennessee. For more on all of those games, be sure and check out Mostradamus on MainStreetMurray.com, as well as at the Pulaski Citizen and at the Lawrence County Advocates websites. We'll tell you who's going to win these ball games on Friday night. That'll do it for us.
Thanks, Maurice. Calvin White over in Northwest Middle Tennessee is up next. Take it away, Calvin.
Hello, everybody. This is Calvin White, sports editor for Main Street Clarksville, the Robertson County Connection, and the Houston County Herald. I'm just checking in to give you a quick preview of all of the Week 1 high school football games in Montgomery, Robertson, and Houston County. With the regular season beginning this week, we'll start in Montgomery County. Clarksville High opens at home against Blackman. Clarksville and head coach Isaac Shelby set out to toughen their schedule after back-to-back undefeated regular seasons, but losing in the first round of the playoffs. Rossview and first-year head coach Stratty Young will face Springfield at home. Springfield coming off a Class 5A semifinal appearance a season ago. Kirkwood goes on the road to West Creek. Kirkwood and head coach Chad Watson return tons of production from last year's team that finished 8-3 and made the playoffs. Northeast is at Christian County on Saturday. Northeast and Christian County both finished with 1 win last season. The Eagles looking to improve under second-year head coach Deontay Weston. Northwest is at home against Fort Campbell. Northwest beat Fort Campbell in week 1 of the regular season last year for their only win of the season. Montgomery Central is at Sycamore. Montgomery Central coming off a 2-8 season last year under first-year head coach Wyatt Page. After a winless season in 2023, they will open the season on the road at Sycamore. Clarksville Academy is at home against Hunters Lane. Clarksville Academy finished 2-7 last year. Return quarterback Ethan Bowens, linebacker Willie Wilson Jr., wide receiver Andreas Scott. The Cougars looking to improve this year under third-year head coach Stedman Bell. And then finally in Montgomery County, Kenwood is on the road at Hillsboro. Kenwood graduated quarterback Jacoby Cox, most notably, but returned running back and linebacker Josiah Brown and converted wide receiver Christian James to quarterback. The Knights looking to build on a 3-7 season in 2024. Over in Robertson County, like we mentioned earlier, Springfield is on the road at Rossview. Head coach Dustin Wilson only returns 2 starters from a defense that helped lead the Yellow Jackets to the Class 5A semifinals last year. They opened the road at Rossview and first-year head coach Stratty Young. White House Heritage is at home versus Greenbrier. White House Heritage quarterback Xavier Murray is expected to be cleared for full contact after a leg injury knocked him out of the playoffs last year. East Robertson is on the road at Liberty Creek. East Robertson won over Liberty Creek in last year's season opener. They have beat the Wolves in the last 2 season openers. Head coach Chase Brooks and the Indians have been one of the perennial Class 2A state title contenders the last 2 years in 2A and look to start the 2025 season off with a win in week 1 over Liberty Creek. Joe Burns is at home versus Mount Juliet Christian. Joe Burns quarterback Luke Miller sustained a finger injury that will keep him out for most of the season. Clay Woody, former wide receiver for Joe Burns, has moved over to quarterback. He will lead the offense for the Red Devils for the foreseeable future. White House and first-year head coach Atlee Pond are on the road at Portland. Portland Portland on paper appears to be one of the most talented teams in Sumner County. It might be tough in week 1 for White House and Atlee Pond to get their first win after a 4-6 season last year. And then finally, Innovation Academy is on the road at Liberty Tech Magnet. Innovation Academy, this is their first year playing in a TSSAA region. So the Sentinels will open the season on the road at Liberty Tech Magnet. And then finally over in Houston County, they will open the 2025 season with a home game against Stewart County. Houston County coming off a 7-4 season last year in a TSSAA playoff berth. They return standout running back Preston Mitchell. The Fighting Irish looking to build off a 7-4 2024 season. That'll do it for all of our preview coverage from Montgomery, Robertson, and Houston County. I'm Calvin White, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Calvin. We're going to stop here for another message from Delta Dental and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, our sponsors for the high school preview show. But we'll be right back right after this.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
When the arena lights dim for a concert, or when the crowd becomes one at a big game, you can almost feel like you're the biggest fan. But who's your biggest fan? It's the person that will get you home safely after a night of drinking. It's the person who looks out for your life to make sure you leave the stadium with someone sober. This could be a designated driver or someone who offers to get you a ride share. Because in Tennessee, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Brought to you by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, a division of the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security.
All right, we are back and we're ready to move on over to Casey Patrick in West Middle, Tennessee.
Hi, my name's Casey Patrick. I'm the sports reporter for the Dixon Post, Cheatham County Exchange, and now the Hickman County Times. We've added a few new teams to our list, but week 1 is here. Football season's here. I'm going to give you a little rundown of everybody in my coverage area, who they're playing, where they're playing. So let's just go ahead and get started. The game I'm going to be at on Friday, Creekwood's at home against Forest. Should be a fun matchup. Dixon County, of course, they're on the road at Columbia Central. Dixon County is going to be on the road all year long. They're having renovations done to their stadium. Creekwood and Dixon usually play each other to begin the season. That's not the case this year. But that'll be all right. They meet each other in a few weeks. It's right down the road. Moving on now to Cheatham. Cheatham County Central is on the road at Cascade, which is a little crazy to me because Cheatham County Central was on the road all last year because of renovations being done to their stadium. Schedule makers have them on the road for one more week, so they'll be at Cascade this Friday. Harpeth is at home against Hickman County. Of course, like I said, Hickman County is one of the two new teams that I have covering. Harpeth, Hickman County both have two new coaches. I'll get those words figured out here in a minute. Two new coaches. Harpeth coach Charles Moorhead came up from the middle school. Hickman County coach Patrick Smith, of course, I believe he was a middle school coach as well. So, moving on to Sycamore. Sycamore's at home against Montgomery Central. Montgomery Central coming into town with Coach Wyatt Page, of course, former Sycamore assistant. Should be a fun matchup there. And the final matchup in my area, East Hickman at Fairview. So that should be a fun game. Fairview's getting a lot of their injuries back from last year. East Hickman, probably the best season in school history last year. Going to see what they've got this year. But that's all for week 1. We'll have a wrap-up show, start to get a better idea of what these teams are made of. But y'all have a wonderful evening. Stay safe out there Friday.
Thanks, Casey. And last but not least this week, Wade Neely will give us a breakdown on the rest of West Middle Tennessee.
What's up, folks? Wade Neely here. I'm your sports editor servicing Hickman, Dixon, and Cheatham counties. And man, oh man, am I excited about the 2025 high school football season. I am new to these territories, not necessarily new to covering these teams, however, during 15 plus years of coverage for Giles County and the surrounding areas here in southern Middle Tennessee. But my, oh my, we have a fantastic week 1 slate. We have a fantastic 2025 season ahead of us, and we've got a lot of storylines to bring everybody up to speed on as we enter this brand new year of high school football. Should be a fantastic week one to get things cranked up. And man, we have some intriguing matchups beginning with Sycamore and Hicks Hunter, the all-world running back. Will try and guide the Eagles to a early victory as they they play host to Montgomery Central on Friday night. Elsewhere, we have Cheatham County making the trip down to the land of the walking horses. They go down to Cascade and they go down to Wartrace, Tennessee to take on the champions for their week one showdown. East Hickman will make a short jaunt up to Fairview. Should be a big matchup there. Fairview is a new region opponent for a lot of our foes, and they are hungry to kind of rebound after a disappointing season in 2024. Casey Patrick, our sports writer for all of our counties, will also be on hand this week. He's covering Creekwood at Forest. That game will be played in Charlotte as the Redhawks look to take down the Rockets in their week one matchup. Finally, we close with Dickson County traveling to Columbia. Big matchup brewing down there in Murray County. It should be a Donnybrook as Dickson County travels once again to take on the Lions of Columbia Central. As for me, yours truly, I'll be out in Kingston Springs on Friday night. Talk about setting the tone early. Hickman County with a brand new coaching staff. Patrick Smith taking over there, leading the Hickman County squad. The Bulldogs are hungry to return to glory. Meanwhile, the Harpeth Indians, brand new coaching staff. Coach Moorhead trying to rally the troops there as the Indians will look to hold serve. That game again in Kingston Springs. We have some fantastic matchups, 6 epic showdowns across our coverage area just here in our Upper West Middle Tennessee region of Main Street Media land. That's a quick preview of week one. We'll be back later in the week to recap what a wild, undoubtedly opening week it will be. But for now, Wade Neely saying so long.
And that's our week one high school football preview show. I don't know if I can even wait until Friday, to be honest with you. Which reminds me, so I remind you, keep your eyes and ears open for Main Street Media's Thursday night football game of the week audio broadcast with Wade Neely and Casey Patrick, calling games all across Middle Tennessee this season. Week one is set to go live tonight and every Thursday night at 6:45. And don't forget that Main Street Media TV has a lot of great high school, college, and professional football-based shows lined up for you this season. Make sure you keep an eye out on your local newspaper social media pages or download the Main Street Media TV app where you can catch all the great programming every day. And also, don't miss our weekly high school football wrap-up show with these same editors and same sports writers who are covering your school's teams every week. The wrap-up show is scheduled for every Tuesday at 1 p.m. during high school football season. Hey, we'll be right back here next Thursday with the high school football preview show week 2 on Main Street Media TV.